2 weeks later, Minho stood once again on the surface of New Horizon Colony. The Valtharian ship hung in the sky above, preparing to depart. But this time, everything was different. "The Empress has asked us to stay," Umbi said, reading from a formal document. "She wants to establish a new medical research program combining Valtharian technology with human psychological methods." Minho smiled. "And what did you tell her?" "That we need to think about it. This is our home." The communication device in Minho's clinic activated, and Empress Zalara's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, Nethys could be seen resting peacefully, its crystal scales showing the steady patterns of perfect health. "Dr. Kang," the Empress said, "I wanted to speak with you before we departed." "How is Nethys?" Minho asked. "Perfect. Better than perfect. The creature has not only recovered, but seems stronger than ever. More importantly, we have learned something valuable about healing that we never understood before." The screen shifted to show Sub-Commander Zara, who looked very different from the proud, dismissive officer Minho had first met. "Doctor," she said, "I owe you an apology. I believe that advanced technology was always superior to simple methods." "I was wrong." "Not wrong," Minho corrected, "just incomplete. Your technology is amazing for healing bodies, but minds need something different." Commander Thizes appeared next to the medical officer. "The story of what you accomplished here has spread throughout our empire. Many of our healers are requesting training in human psychological methods." "And it's not just healers," Empress Zalara added. "The military wants to understand how trauma affects soldiers. Our scientists want to study the connection between mind and body that we had ignored." Captain Vexstar was the last to appear on screen. He looked uncomfortable but determined. "Human," he said stiffly. "I judged your species based on your technology. I thought simplicity meant weakness. I have learned that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful ones." Minho felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the colony's sun. "Thank you, Captain. That means a lot." "There is more," Empress Zalara continued. "Word of your success has reached other species across the galaxy. We have received requests from the Andromedan Collective, the Spiral Federation, and even the Mysterious Watchers. They all want to know about human healing methods." Yumbi's eyes widened. "They want veterinarians?" "They want healers who understand that bodies and minds are connected," Commander Thizes explained. "Apparently this is knowledge that only humans possess." Over the next hour they discussed the implications. The Valtharian Empire was offering to establish the first interspecies medical academy. Human doctors and veterinarians would work alongside alien healers to develop new treatment methods. "It would mean leaving New Horizon," Minho said thoughtfully. "Not necessarily," Empress Zalara replied. "We could build the academy here. Your colony could become a center of medical learning for the entire galaxy." Una Park, who had been listening to the conversation from nearby, stepped into view of the screen. "Empress," she said, "New Horizon accepts your proposal." After the communication ended, Minho sat quietly in his clinic. So much had changed in just 2 weeks. He had started by trying to heal one sick creature and ended up changing how an entire empire thought about medicine. "No regrets?" Yumbi asked, joining him at the window. "None," Minho replied. "Though I have to admit, I never expected my career to go in this direction." Outside, ships from a dozen different species were already beginning to arrive. The news had traveled fast across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to learn about the human who had healed the unhealable. But Minho's favorite visitor came last. The Valtharian ship descended one final time, and a familiar massive form materialized in the field outside his clinic. Nethys had phased down from the ship to say goodbye. The great creature approached the clinic slowly, its crystal scales showing patterns of contentment and gratitude. It looked at Minho through the window with those silver eyes that had once been filled with pain. Empress Zalara appeared moments later, having transported down in the normal way. "Nethys wanted to thank you personally," she explained. Minho walked outside and approached the massive creature. Nethys lowered its great head, allowing the human doctor to touch its snout just as the Empress had done. "Take care of yourself." Minho said softly. Nethys made that deep, rumbling purr and gently touched Minho's shoulder with the tip of one enormous claw. Then the creature stepped back and phased away, returning to its ship. The bond between healer and patient, Empress, Zilara observed. It truly does transcend species. As the Veltharian ship departed for the final time, Minho reflected on everything that had happened. He had come so close to walking away from that first desperate communication. The safe choice would have been to stay on New Horizon and continue treating farm animals. But sometimes the most important thing you can do is help someone who is suffering, regardless of the risks. The galaxy had learned that humans make excellent doctors not because of their technology, but because of their compassion. And sometimes, compassion is the most advanced medicine of all. In the distance, more ships were arriving. Representatives from species Minho had never even heard of, all coming to learn about human healing methods. The foolish human veterinarian who had dared to treat the alien queen's beast had become something more. He had become a bridge between species, a teacher who could help the galaxy understand that healing is about more than just fixing what is broken. It's about understanding that every living being, no matter how different, deserves to be free from pain. And that was a lesson worth risking everything to share. The morning started like any other on the research station Harmony's Edge. Coffee machines hummed in the human sections. The lizard-like Skreth people warmed themselves under heat lamps. The floating jellyfish creatures called Vorthok drifted through their water-filled corridors. Everyone was doing their normal work, but down on the planet below, something was about to change everything. Dr. Kelm Vorthak was the lead scientist for the dig site on planet Kelthara. He had 6 arms and skin that changed colors when he was excited. Today his skin was bright purple with yellow spots. His team had found something big. "Look at this wall," Kelm Vorthak said to his assistant. His voice made bubbling sounds through his breathing mask. "The metal is different here. Much older than anything we have seen." The wall was buried deep underground. It was made of a strange black metal that seemed to drink in light. Strange symbols covered every inch of it. The symbols moved sometimes, but only when nobody was looking directly at them. "Should we call the station first?" asked his assistant, a young Skreth named Isk. Her tongue flicked out nervously. "No need," Kelm Vorthak said. His skin flashed bright orange with confidence. "We are just taking pictures. What could go wrong?" He pulled out his scanner and pointed it at the wall. The device beeped and hummed as it recorded the symbols. But when the scanner beam hit one particular symbol, something unexpected happened. The symbol began to glow. "That is strange," Kelm Vorthak said. His skin color shifted to worried green. The scanner should not cause that reaction. But it was too late. The glowing spread from one symbol to the next. Soon the entire wall was shining with cold, white light. The light was so bright that both scientists had to step back. Then the wall began to shake. "We should leave," Isk said. Her voice was high and scared. "We should leave right now." But Kelm Vorthak was too curious. He was a scientist. Scientists did not run from strange discoveries. "Just a few more readings," he said. The shaking got worse. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rocks rolled down the dig site walls. The glowing symbols were now moving fast, spinning and changing shape. Then the wall cracked, not a small crack, a huge crack that ran from top to bottom. Cold air rushed out from behind the wall. The air smelled like metal and something else, something old and dangerous. "Now, we definitely should leave," Kelm Vorthak said. His skin was now flashing red and white, which meant he was very scared. But before they could move, the crack widened. The wall broke apart like an eggshell. Behind it was darkness. Deep, complete darkness that seemed to swallow light. Something moved in that darkness. "What is that?" Isk whispered. 2 points of light appeared in the darkness. They looked like eyes, but they were too big to be normal eyes. Each one was the size of a dinner plate. They glowed with cold, blue fire. The eyes moved closer to the opening. Then they heard the breathing. It was slow and deep, like the sound of wind through a cave. But this was not wind. This was something alive. Something very big, Kelm Vorthak. tried to run, but his legs would not move. Fear had frozen him in place. YSSK was the same. They could only stand and watch as something enormous began to push through the broken wall. First came a claw. It was bigger than a person, made of what looked like black crystal. It grabbed the edge of the opening and pulled. The wall crumbled away like sand. Then came the head. It was huge. Bigger than a truck. The shape was wrong, though. It was not like any animal they knew. It had too many angles, too many sharp edges. The eyes were set deep in a face that looked like it was carved from dark stone. But this was not stone. This was living flesh. As they watched, the creature's skin shifted and changed. Metal grew from its bones. Weapons appeared along its arms. And back, this was not just a creature. This was a living war machine. The beast pulled itself fully out of the opening. It stood up on legs as thick as tree trunks. Its full height was impossible to judge from down in the dig site, but it was huge, maybe 30 feet tall. Maybe more. For a moment, the creature just stood there. Its glowing eyes looked around the dig site. They looked at the tools and equipment. They looked at the scared scientists. Then it opened its mouth and roared. The sound was like nothing either scientist had ever heard. It was not just noise. It was something that hit them in their minds. Kelmvorthek felt his thoughts scatter. Like leaves in a storm. Isk fell to her knees, her hands pressed against her ears, but the roar did more than hurt their ears. Every piece of electronic equipment in the dig site began to spark and smoke. Lights went out, computers crashed. The communication devices went silent. The creature took a step forward. The ground shook under its weight. Another step. Rocks fell from the dig site walls. "Run," Kelmvorthek managed to say. His voice was barely a whisper. "Run now." This time, their legs worked. Both scientists turned and ran as fast as they could. Behind them, the creature roared again. The sound followed them as they climbed out of the dig site. When they reached the surface, they looked back. The creature was climbing out of the hole it had made. In the daylight, it looked even more terrible. Its skin was covered in armor that seemed to grow and change as they watched. Weapons were built into its arms and back. Energy crackled between its claws, but the worst part was its eyes. When those cold, blue lights looked at them, both scientists felt something they had never felt before. Pure, ancient terror. This was not just a dangerous animal. This was something that had been made to kill, made to destroy, made to end civilizations. The creature took another step toward them. That was when Kelmvorthek remembered his emergency communicator. His hands shook as he pulled it out. He pressed the emergency button and screamed into it. "This is Dig Site 7. We have a situation. Something has awakened. Something terrible. Send help." "Send everyone?" Up on the space station, alarms began to ring. The crew had no idea that their peaceful day of research was about to become a fight for survival. The ancient war beast was awake, and it was hungry. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every communication channel buzzed with the same terrible message. Something ancient and unstoppable had awakened. Something that ate energy weapons and grew stronger with every attack on Harmonies. Edge, Commander Zilthik watched her station empty out. Ship after ship undocked and fled the system. The proud research station that once housed scientists from 20 different species now echoed with emptiness. "Evacuation status report," she ordered. 60% of all personnel have left, her aide reported. The crystalline entities departed an hour ago. The hive minds are packing their queen chambers now. Only the humans, Skreth, and a few others are staying. Zilthik was not surprised. Some species were naturally braver than others. The humans especially seemed to have trouble running from danger. It was both admirable and foolish. "What about the mining station?" she asked, still trying to evacuate. "But the creature is moving toward them." On the main screen, they could see the beast walking across the planet's surface. Each step left a crater in the ground. It was bigger now than when it first awakened. The failed attacks had given it new abilities. Weapons covered its arms like metal flowers. Energy danced between its claws, but worse than its size was its behavior. The creature was not just wandering randomly, it was hunting. It moved with purpose toward every sign of advanced technology. First the dig sites, then the abandoned research camps. Now the mining station. Estimated time until it reaches the miners? Zilthik asked. 4 hours, her science officer replied. Maybe less. Any word from Galactic Command? They are sending Captain Zexthara with the 3rd Battle Fleet. Zilthik felt a moment of hope. Captain Zexthara was a legend. She came from the Hegemony Guard, the most elite military force in the galaxy. Her battle fleet had never lost a single engagement. When will they arrive? 2 hours. Good, maybe we can save the miners after all. But even as she said it, Zilthik felt doubt creeping into her mind. If the Nexus Collective's advanced weapons had failed, what chance did conventional military force have? Meanwhile, at the mining station on the planet's surface, Director Kelm was trying to keep his people calm. The station housed 50 workers from 6 different species. They were engineers and miners, not soldiers. They had never faced anything like this. All personnel to the evacuation ships, Kelm announced over the intercom. This is not a drill. Move quickly but do not panic. But panic was exactly what was happening. The workers had seen the reports from the research teams. They knew what was coming toward them. A creature that absorbed energy and grew stronger with every attack. Director, called his assistant, a young Skreth named Vess, the creature is moving faster than predicted. It will be here in 3 hours, not 4. Kelm looked at the evacuation progress. Only half his people were on ships. Loading the heavy mining equipment was taking too long. Forget the equipment, he decided. Just get the people out. But even as he gave the order, he knew some would not make it. The older workers moved slowly. The heavy gravity species needed special transport. There simply was not enough time. Sir, Vess said, pointing at a monitor, look at this. The screen showed the beast in more detail. As it walked, the creature was changing. Its legs grew longer to cover ground faster. Its armor shifted and flowed like liquid metal. New weapons appeared on its shoulders and back. It is adapting, Kelm whispered. It knows we are trying to escape, so it is making itself faster. That was when the battle fleet arrived. 20 ships dropped out of hyperspace above the planet. They were sleek, deadly vessels painted in the black and gold of the Hegemony Guard. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. Captain Zexthara's voice boomed across all communication channels. This is the 3rd Battle Fleet. All civilian vessels clear the combat zone immediately. We will handle this threat. On Harmony's edge, Commander Zilthik watched the fleet take position. Maybe they have a plan the Nexus Collective did not try. She said hopefully. Doubt it, muttered her weapons officer. If machine logic could not solve this, what can military force do? Captain Zexthara was thinking the same thing. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, studying the creature through telescopic sensors. She had fought pirates, rebels, and alien monsters. But this thing was different. It moved with intelligence, purpose, like it was designed specifically to fight advanced civilizations. All ships, she ordered, prepare quantum torpedoes. Full. Spread maximum yield. Quantum torpedoes were the most powerful weapons in the fleet arsenal. They could crack moons and boil oceans. Surely nothing could survive a full barrage. Fire! 20 ships launched their torpedoes at once. The weapons streaked through space like falling stars. They struck the creature in a blaze of light that could be seen from orbit. For a moment, everyone held their breath. The explosion was magnificent. The ground around the creature turned to glass. A mushroom cloud rose into the atmosphere. Target destroyed, reported the weapons officer, but Captain Zexthara was not celebrating. She kept her eyes on the sensors. Wait for the smoke to clear. When it did, their hearts sank. The creature was still there. Not only alive, but bigger. The quantum explosions had fed it more energy than ever before. It now stood 40 feet tall. Its armor gleamed with absorbed radiation. New weapon systems sprouted from its body like a mechanical garden. The beast looked up at the fleet in space. Its glowing eyes seemed to lock onto the flagship. Then it raised both arms. Energy gathered around its claws, not the simple beam it had used before. This was something new, something it had learned from there. Quantum torpedoes, evasive maneuvers. Captain Zexthara shouted, but it was too late. The creature fired, not one beam, but 20. Each beam targeted a different ship. The energy was quantum-based, just like their torpedoes, but more focused. More deadly, 5 ships exploded instantly. The others managed to raise shields, but the beams cut through them like they were made of paper. Within minutes, half the fleet was destroyed or badly damaged. "Retreat," Captain Zexthara ordered. "All ships, retreat immediately." The surviving ships fled the system as fast as their engines could carry them, back on Harmony's edge. The command center was silent. Everyone stared at the screen in shock. The most powerful military fleet in the galaxy had been defeated in minutes. "Commander." Zilthik sat down heavily in her chair. The creature was now the size of a building. It had absorbed so much energy that it glowed like a small star. And it was still heading toward the mining station. "Open a channel," she said quietly. "All frequencies. Emergency priority." When the channel opened, she took a deep breath and spoke to the entire galaxy. "This is Commander Zilthik of Harmony's Edge. We face a threat unlike anything we have ever seen. Diplomatic contact has failed. Military force only makes it stronger. We are out of options." She paused, looking at the growing monster on her screen. "If anyone, anywhere, has any ideas for stopping this creature, please respond immediately. Any species, any individual. We will try anything. Because if we cannot stop it here, it will spread to populated systems, and then—" She did not finish. The sentence she did not need to. Everyone knew what would happen then. The ancient war beast would do what it was designed to do. It would hunt down and destroy every advanced civilization in the galaxy. Time was running out. Commander Zilthik's desperate message echoed across the galaxy. On 100 worlds, scientists and military leaders shook their heads in defeat. The greatest minds in galactic civilization had no answers. The creature was simply too powerful. Too adaptive. But in a small research ship traveling between systems, 3 humans heard the message and looked at each other with growing excitement. "Did you hear that?" Dr. Nari Park asked, turning away from her computer screen. She was a small woman with short black hair and bright, curious eyes. "They are talking about an ancient war beast that absorbs energy." "I heard it," replied Dr. Ta Ho Kim from the pilot's seat. He was tall for a human, with gentle eyes and calloused hands that spoke of years working with delicate equipment. "It sounds exactly like the creatures in the old records." The third human, Wujin Li, looked up from the engine controls he was adjusting. He was built like a wrestler, with thick arms and a quick smile. "You mean those stories about the Guardian beasts? I thought those were just myths." "Not myths," Teho said firmly. "We have found evidence on 17 different worlds. The same symbols, the same burial chambers, the same warnings about waking the sleeping guardians." Nari pulled up files on her computer. "Remember what we found on Kepler 442? The inscription said the guardians were not destroyers. They were protectors, but something went wrong. Something made them forget their purpose. The other species do not know this," Wujin realized. "They see a monster and think, weapon, but we know better." Teho was already changing their ship's course toward the Kalthara system. "We have to try. If I am right about what this creature really is, then everyone is handling this wrong." "And if you are wrong?" Wujin asked. "Then we will probably die," Teho said with a calm smile. "But someone has to try a different approach." Their ship, the Soul's Pride, was not impressive by galactic standards. It was small and old, built for research rather than speed or comfort. But it had served them well on dozens of archaeological expeditions across the galaxy. 3 hours later, they reached the edge of the Kalthara system. The space around the planet was chaos. Evacuation ships fled in all directions. Military vessels kept their distance from the planet's surface. Emergency broadcasts filled every communication channel. "This is Soul's Pride requesting permission to dock with Harmony's Edge," Teho transmitted. The response came immediately from Commander Zilthik herself. Human vessel, this system is under emergency evacuation. You need to leave immediately. Commander, my name is Dr. Tae-ho Kim from Earth's Interspecies Research Division. We may have information that can help with your situation. There was a long pause. When Zilthik spoke again, her voice was filled with disbelief. Dr. Kim, we have had contact with the best diplomatic minds and the strongest military forces in the galaxy. They have all failed. What could humans possibly offer? A different perspective, Tae-ho replied simply. Another pause. Then, Doc. At Bay 7. But I warn you, Dr. Kim, this creature has defeated everyone who tried to stop it. I will not be responsible for your deaths. Understood, Commander. As their ship approached Harmony's edge, the three humans could see the creature on the planet below. It was enormous now, glowing with absorbed energy from multiple attacks. It moved like a walking mountain across the surface. Look at the way it moves, Nari observed. It is not random. It has a pattern. What kind of pattern? Woo-jin asked. It is checking things, examining them, like it is looking for something specific. When they docked, a security team was waiting for them. Commander Zilthik herself came to meet the humans. She was obviously skeptical. Her forearms were crossed and her gray skin showed stress patterns. Dr. Kim, she said, I will be direct. We are desperate. Every conventional approach has failed. The creature grows stronger with each attack. If you have any ideas, we need to hear them now. Tae-ho nodded and pulled out a datapad. Commander, show me everything you know about this creature. Every scan, every recording, every detail. For the next 2 hours, the humans studied all the data. They watched recordings of the creature's awakening. They analyzed its behavior patterns. They examined the failed attempts at contact and combat. The alien scientists and military officers watched the humans work. Most looked doubtful. How could these young species, barely a century into galactic society, see something that older, wiser races had missed? There, Nari said finally, pointing at a behavioral analysis chart. Look at this pattern. The creature always avoids certain areas. What areas? Zilthik asked. Gardens, parks, places where plants grow. And look here, Tae-ho highlighted another section. It never attacks medical facilities or schools. It only targets military installations and heavy industry? So? One of the alien officers said. It is smart enough to attack strategic targets. No, Woo-jin said, understanding suddenly. It is avoiding places where life is nurtured. That is not the behavior of a destroyer. Tae-ho stood up and faced the assembled aliens. This creature is not a war beast. It is a guardian, a protector, but something traumatized it. Made it forget its purpose. That is impossible, Zilthik protested. You saw what it did to our ships? Because you attacked it first, Nari said gently. It woke up confused and afraid. You responded with weapons and telepathic invasion. It defended itself the only way it knew how. But the destruction was self-defense, Tae-ho interrupted. Think about it. A creature designed to protect. Life wakes up after thousands of years. Everything it was meant to guard is gone. It is alone, confused, probably grieving. Then the first thing that happens is strangers trying to invade its mind and attack it with weapons. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You're saying, Zilthik said slowly, that we caused this? You responded the way your species naturally respond to threats, Tae-ho said kindly. But humans have experience with trauma, with creatures that have been hurt and forgotten how to trust. What do you suggest? Tae-ho looked at his two companions. They nodded encouragement. Let me go down there, he said. Alone, unarmed, no telepathy, no technology, no weapons. Just one person approaching another being that is in pain. The aliens stared at him in shock. That is suicide, Zilthik said. Maybe, Tae-ho admitted, but every other approach has failed. And I think I understand what this creature needs, which is to remember that it is not alone. That there is still life in the galaxy worth protecting. Woo-jin and Nari stepped forward. Not alone, Woo-jin said firmly. We go together, the three of us, Nari added, like always. Commander Zilthik looked at the three humans. They were so small compared to most galactic species, so young and fragile, but there was something in their eyes of certainty, a compassion that she had not seen in any of the other species' attempts. "This is madness," she said. "Yes," Teho agreed, with a smile. "But sometimes madness is exactly what the situation requires." The entire galaxy watched as a small human shuttle separated from Harmony's edge. Every sensor on the station tracked its movement. Communication channels from a dozen worlds carried the live feed. Nobody could believe what they were seeing. 3 humans were flying directly toward the creature that had defeated the most advanced military forces in known space. "This is insane," muttered Commander Zilthik. She stood in the command center, watching the shuttle's progress on the main screen. "They are going to be killed." "Maybe," said her science officer, "but look at the creature's behavior." On the screen, the ancient beast had stopped moving. For the first time since awakening, it stood completely still. Its glowing eyes were fixed on the approaching shuttle. The weapons along its arms and back had stopped growing. Even the energy crackling between its claws had faded. "It is watching them," Zilthik realized. "Why is it not attacking?" Inside the shuttle, Teho piloted carefully toward the planet's surface. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart was beating fast. Behind him, Nari and Wujin prepared their equipment. "No weapons," Teho reminded them for the third time. "No scanning devices. No communication equipment except basic radio. Nothing that could be seen as a threat. What about this?" Nari held up a small potted plant. It was a simple flower from Earth, something her daughter Sujin had grown in. "Their garden? Perfect," Taho said. "That is exactly the right idea." Wujin had a collection of pictures from home. Images of human families, children playing, people working together. "You think it will understand these?" "I hope so," replied. "If I am right about what this creature really is, then these things should mean something to it." The shuttle entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the windows, they could see the creature clearly now. It was massive beyond description. 40 feet tall and covered in living armor that shifted and flowed like metal water. But it was not moving toward them. It was waiting. "Landing in 2 minutes," Teho announced. "All stations report ready," came Commander Zilthek's voice over the radio. "Dr. Kim, you can still change your mind. We can bring you back up." "Thank you, Commander," Teho said calmly, "but we are committed to this course." He landed the shuttle about 100 meters from the creature. Through the viewports, they could see it watching them. Its eyes were like blue stars, ancient and intelligent. "Remember," Teho said as they prepared to exit, "no sudden movements. Keep your hands visible. And whatever happens, show no fear. Are you afraid?" Wujin asked. Teho considered the question honestly. "Terrified," he admitted. "But sometimes being afraid is less important than being right." The shuttle door opened. The 3 humans stepped out onto the planet's surface. The air was breathable but cold. The ground was hard rock, cracked and broken by the creature's massive footsteps. The beast towered above them like a living mountain. Up close, they could see details that the sensors had missed. The armor was not just metal. It was alive, growing and changing. Organic and mechanical parts worked together in perfect harmony. This was not just advanced technology. This was art. "Beautiful," Nari whispered. The creature heard her. Its huge head tilted slightly, studying the small humans. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Teho took a step forward. Every alien watching from orbit held their breath. On Harmony's edge, Commander Zilthik gripped her chair. "What is he doing?" Teho walked slowly toward the creature. Each step was careful and deliberate. He kept his hands at his sides, visible and empty. His face showed no fear, only calm determination. The creature watched him approach. Its weapons remained silent. The energy fields around its body dimmed to a soft glow. When Teho was just 10 meters away, he stopped. He looked up at the massive being and spoke in a gentle voice. "Hello," he said simply. "My name is Teho. I think you have been alone for a very long time." The creature's eyes flickered. Something deep in those glowing depths seemed to recognize the tone, if not the words. "We are not here to hurt you," Teho continued. "We are not here to study you or capture you. We came because we think you are in pain." Behind him, Nari and Wu Jin approached slowly. Nari held the potted flower in front of her like an offering. Wu Jin kept the family pictures visible in his hands, the creature's massive head lowered slightly. It was looking at the flower. "This is from our world," Nari said softly. "It is life. New life that grows and blooms and brings joy to others." 4. The first time since its awakening, the creature made a sound that was not a roar. It was low and harmonic, almost like singing. The sound seemed to come from deep within its chest. "You remember?" Teho said with growing excitement. "You remember what you were made to protect." The creature lowered its head further. One massive claw, each finger longer than a human arm, reached toward them. The watching aliens gasped in horror, expecting to see the humans crushed, but the claw moved with infinite gentleness. It stopped just inches from Teho's outstretched hand. "It is all right," Teho said. "We understand. You were a guardian, a protector of life. But everything you protected is gone now, and you forgot who you were supposed to be." The harmonic sound grew louder. It was definitely singing now, though in no language any human had ever heard. The creature's entire body began to resonate with the sound. "You are not alone anymore," Wu Jin said, stepping forward with his pictures. "Look, life still exists. Different life, but still precious, still worth protecting." The creature's eyes moved to the pictures, images of human children laughing, families sharing meals, people helping each other. The simple, everyday moments that made life worth living. The singing became more complex. Other harmonics joined in. The creature's armor began to change, flowing into new configurations. The weapons along its arms started to reshape themselves. "What is happening?" Commander Zilthik asked over the radio, but Teho was too amazed to answer immediately. He watched as the creature's war form began to transform. The killing tools became something else. Something beautiful. "It is remembering," he finally said into his radio. "It is remembering what it was really made to do." The creature's transformation continued. Weapons became tools for growth. Armor became gardens. The energy fields that had once destroyed now pulsed with the rhythm of life itself. And through it all, the ancient guardian sang its song of recognition and remembrance. For the first time in thousands of years, it was no longer alone. "Approach." "Successful," Teho reported to the station. "Beginning extended contact." Above them, the galaxy watched in wonder as 3 small humans did what the greatest minds and strongest weapons could not. They had found the broken heart, hidden inside the monster. The transformation took 3 hours to complete. During that time, the 3 humans stayed close to the creature, offering gentle words and patient presence. The entire galaxy watched through sensors and communication feeds as something impossible happened. The war beast was becoming something else entirely. "Commander." Zilthik could hardly believe the readings her instruments were showing. "The energy signature is completely different now," her science officer reported. "Instead of destructive potential, we are detecting ... growth patterns." "Growth patterns?" Zilthik repeated. "Yes, Commander. The creature's body is generating frequencies that encourage plant growth and cellular healing. It is becoming a force for creation, not destruction." On the planet's surface, Teho watched in amazement as the creature's final transformation revealed its true nature. Where once there had been weapons, now there were delicate tools for tending growing things. The armor had become a living ecosystem, with small plants and glowing organisms covering its surface. The energy that had once destroyed now pulsed with the rhythm of life itself. The creature's massive head lowered until it was level with Teho. Its eyes, still glowing but now warm instead of cold, looked directly into his. Then something wonderful happened. The creature spoke not with its voice but directly into their minds. But unlike the violent telepathic assault that had broken Ambassador Kelthris, this was gentle, peaceful, Like a whisper of wind through leaves. Thank you, the voice said in their thoughts. I had forgotten who I was. What is your name? Nari? Asked aloud. Images flowed into their minds. Not words, but concepts. The creature's name was something that meant keeper of the green worlds. In a language that had been dead for millennia, I was made to protect life. The keeper explained, to guard growing things and nurture civilizations. But I slept too long. When I woke, everything I was meant to protect was gone. I thought I had failed. The pain of that failure. It changed me. What happened to the civilizations you were protecting? Wu Jin asked gently. More images flowed. The keeper showed them visions of the past. Beautiful cities filled with beings they did not recognize. Gardens that covered entire planets. Children of a dozen different species playing together under alien suns. They grew beyond the need for guardians, the keeper said with something like pride. They spread to the stars and found their own way. This was as it should be. But I was left behind, forgotten, sleeping in the ruins of their first world. Then why did you become violent when you awakened? Taeho asked, the creature's mental voice. Grew sad. When I woke and found them gone, I thought I had failed them. The pain drove me mad. I forgot my purpose and became what I feared most, a destroyer instead of a protector. The other species' attacks only made it worse. Each weapon they used against me, I absorbed and turned to violence. I was becoming everything I was created to prevent. Nari held up her flower again. But you remember now. Yes, because you showed me that life continues. Different life, but still precious. You reminded me that creation is stronger than destruction. That protection means more than just fighting threats. The keeper's massive form began to change again. This time, the transformation was more dramatic. Its body stretched and flowed, becoming less solid and more like living energy. Tendrils of light spread out from its form, touching the dead ground around them. Where the light touched, plants began to grow. Incredible, whispered Wu Jin. It is terraforming the planet. This world was made barren by war long ago, the keeper explained. Let it become green again. Let it be a symbol of what we can build together instead of what we tear apart. The process spread across the planet's surface like a gentle wave. Dead soil became rich earth. Water springs bubbled up from deep underground. Seeds that had lain dormant for thousands of years began to sprout and grow, back on Harmony's edge. The command center was buzzing with activity. Scientists scrambled to document everything they were seeing. The impossible was happening before their eyes. Commander, the communications officer called out, we are receiving messages from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what happened. How did the humans succeed where everyone else failed? Zilthik thought about it for a moment, then she activated the general communication channel. This is Commander Zilthik to all listening stations, she announced. The threat has been resolved. The creature was not a weapon, but a guardian that had forgotten its purpose. The humans succeeded because they approached with compassion instead of force. They saw a wounded soul instead of a monster. She paused, looking at the readings from the planet below. The terraforming was accelerating. What had been a dead world was becoming a garden. Perhaps, she continued, this teaches us something. About ourselves. About how we respond to things we do not understand. The humans showed us that sometimes the most dangerous creatures are just the most hurt. And sometimes the best weapon is not a weapon at all, but kindness. Down on the planet, the three humans sat in the growing grass beside their new friend. The keeper had settled into a form that was less intimidating but no less magnificent. It looked like a living tree made of crystal and light, with the gentle face of a wise old gardener. I have a request, it said to them. This research station above us, would they allow me to become its guardian? I could protect the researchers and help them in their work. I could make sure their discoveries serve life instead of death. I think they would be honored, Taeho said with a smile. And you three? Will you stay and help me learn about this new galaxy? About all the different forms life has taken since I slept? Nari, Taeho, and Wujin looked at each other. They had come to this system expecting to study ancient artifacts. Instead, They had found something far more valuable, a friend who could teach them about the deepest mysteries of life itself. "We would love to stay," Nari said. The keeper's crystal branches swayed in a breeze that smelled of growing things. Around them, flowers bloomed and small animals emerged from hiding places to explore the new world being born. "Good," the keeper said, "then let us begin." There is much work to do, and life is always eager to grow. High above them, Harmony's edge settled into a new orbit around the transformed world. The research station that had once studied dead civilizations now had the chance to learn from a living guardian of life itself, and throughout the galaxy, the story spread of how 3 small humans had succeeded where the greatest powers had failed. Not through strength or technology, but through the simple courage to approach the unknown with open hearts. It was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget. In the months that followed, the system became a pilgrimage site for beings from across the stars. They came to see the world that had been reborn and to meet the guardian who tended it. They came to learn from the humans who had shown that sometimes the best way to face a monster was to offer it friendship instead of fight. The keeper was never lonely again, and the galaxy became a little bit greener, a little bit kinder, because 3 humans had dared to believe that even ancient monsters could be healed. At the end,